Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Bold and beautiful today. Ridge Forrester and Taylor Hayes' wedding day hung over Los Angeles like acrid smoke, a suffocating miasma of shattered crystal, wilting lilies, and broken promises, but the true epicenter of the devastation resided within Taylor Hayes herself, the renowned psychiatrist now reduced to a trembling monument of public humiliation and private agony, a woman so utterly eviscerated by the man she'd trusted with her fragile, resurrected heart that the very air of the city she'd called home for decades felt like shards of glass scraping her raw nerves, forcing the unthinkable, the unbearable, the only possible conclusion: exile. It wasn't a decision whispered over tear-stained pillows, it was a brutal, biological imperative, a desperate flight response triggered by the sheer, unsustainable weight of existing within the same gravitational pull as Ridge Forrester and the triumphant, pitying gaze of Brooke Logan. The ceremony, meticulously planned to be a testament to enduring love and second chances, had dissolved into chaos before Taylor could even reach the altar, Ridge's face contorting not with adoration but with a dawning, terrifying realization, a familiar, destructive pull he was helpless to resist, culminating in him physically turning away from her, his hand dropping hers like a burning ember, his eyes frantically scanning the assembled, horrified guests not for reassurance, but for her. Brooke. The gasps had been a physical blow, the whispers a lacerating chorus, the stunned silence of their children, Steffi's protective fury warring with heartbreak, Thomas's bewildered concern, a tableau of familial pain Taylor felt responsible for simply by existing as the discarded bride. Ridge's stammered, inadequate apologies, delivered later in the suffocating quiet of a suite filled with untouched wedding finery, were meaningless noise against the roaring static in her ears. He hadn't just jilted her. He had publicly annihilated her, chosen the precipice of chaos with Brooke over the sanctuary he'd promised with her, proving their decades of shared history, their battles fought side by side against Brooke's influence, their rekindled passion after years apart, meant less than the gravitational pull of his toxic, inescapable destiny. Staying in LA became an exercise in exquisite, unrelenting torture. Every corner held a ghost. The restaurant where Ridge proposed again, his eyes earnest, his words weaving dreams she'd foolishly believed, the Forrester Creations design office where they'd shared stolen moments and ambitious plans for their future, now a place vibrating with awkward pity and suppressed gossip, the cliffside mansion whose emptiness echoed the void inside her, a constant reminder of the life that wasn't to be. Seeing Ridge was impossible, the mere glimpse of his car, the sound of his voice carried on the wind, sent her spiraling into panic attacks, cold sweat beating on her skin, the phantom feel of his hand dropping hers replaying in a nauseating loop. But seeing Brooke was worse. Brooke's presence, whether at a charity event she felt obligated to attend or glimpsed across the street, radiated a complex aura, not malice, perhaps, but a profound, unbearable pity laced with the quiet triumph of the victor, the woman who hadn't even needed to fight because the battle was always rigged in her favor. Brooke's very existence in the same city felt like salt ground into the open wound of Taylor's humiliation, a constant, visible symbol of her ultimate inadequacy in Ridge's heart. The gossip columns, initially feasting on the scandal with lurid headlines, Forrester flip-flop. Ridge ditches Doc for destiny, had mercifully moved on to fresher meat, but the whispers lingered in the salons, the hushed conversations dying as she entered a room, the averted eyes that spoke volumes. She, Dr. Taylor Hayes, the pillar of strength who had counseled so many through trauma, found herself unable to counsel herself, her professional armor crumbling under the weight of personal devastation. Therapy felt hollow, platitudes from well-meaning friends like Katie or even Carter grated against the raw reality of her pain. Steffi's fierce loyalty was a lifeline, but also a burden. Seeing her daughter's fury at Ridge, her attempts to shield her mother, only amplified Taylor's sense of failure, the guilt that she had brought this fresh wave of pain upon her children by daring to believe, again, in Ridge's promises. The breaking point wasn't dramatic, but mundane, and all the more crushing for it. It was a Tuesday. She'd ventured out for necessities, steeling herself against the world, only to find herself frozen in the cereal aisle of a Brentwood grocery store. On the cover of a discarded tabloid left on a nearby shelf, months old but still potent, was a grainy, zoomed-in photo from the Italian coast, Ridge Forrester, suspended mid-air, muscles coiled in desperate, heroic motion, plunging into the Tyrrhenian Sea to save a drowning Brooke Logan. The image, a stark, undeniable testament to a love that demanded life-risking leaps, a love that transcended reason, vows, and even public decency, hit her with the force of a physical blow. She couldn't breathe. The fluorescent lights hummed menacingly, the colorful cereal boxes blurred into a nauseating kaleidoscope. Right there, amidst the Cheerios and corn flakes, the truth she'd been desperately trying to outrun solidified: she would never be that for Ridge. She was the steady shore, the safe harbor, but Brooke was the tempestuous ocean he couldn't resist diving into, consequences be damned. Her love was deep, patient, and true, but it wasn't the primal, all-consuming force that would make him leap off a yacht without a second thought. That photo, that single, leaked moment of terrifying devotion, was the epitaph of her relationship with Ridge. LA wasn't just painful, it was a prison cell where she was forced to witness, daily, the living proof of her own romantic obsolescence in the grand, destructive saga of Ridge and Brooke. The walls closed in. The air grew thin. The decision, when it came, wasn't a choice, but a surrender to survival. She had to leave. Not for a vacation, not for a sabbatical, but fundamentally, irrevocably. She needed distance measured in continents, oceans wide enough to drown out the echoes of Ridge's voice and the phantom scent of Brooke's perfume. She needed space where her identity wasn't defined as Ridge's almost bride or Brooke's eternal rival, but could, somehow, painfully, become just Taylor again. The departure was orchestrated with quiet dignity, a stark contrast to the public spectacle of her undoing. Steffi, her eyes red-rimmed but resolute, helped her pack, folding clothes with a fierce protectiveness, promising frequent visits, her voice thick with the unshed tears of a daughter losing her mother's physical presence just when she felt she needed her most. Thomas, quieter, more pragmatic, handled logistics, his concern a steady anchor. There were no dramatic farewells at the airport, no confrontations. Ridge, informed through Steffi in clipped tones that Taylor was leaving indefinitely, sent a bouquet of white roses, a gesture of remorse so achingly inadequate it felt like a final, cruel joke. Taylor left them unopened in the sterile foyer of the house she was closing up. Boarding the plane to Paris, a city chosen for its anonymity and its distance from everything Forrester and Logan, Taylor didn't look back as the city lights receded below. Looking back meant seeing the glittering cage, the scene of the crime against her heart. Looking back meant acknowledging the phantom pain of the ring that never graced her finger, the echo of vows never spoken, the life meticulously planned now reduced to ash. She stared resolutely ahead, towards an uncertain horizon, her face pale but composed, a mask hiding the tectonic plates shifting within. The healer was fleeing the source of her incurable wound. Los Angeles, the city of dreams and relentless drama, receded into the night, taking with it the ghost of Taylor Hayes, the woman who loved Ridge Forrester. What emerged from the ashes, somewhere over the Atlantic, was a stranger, adrift, carrying only the unbearable lightness of absence and the heavy, leaden certainty that she could never return, not while the specter of that doomed wedding and the image of Ridge's leap for Brooke haunted its sun-drenched streets. Her exile wasn't just geographical, it was the final, necessary amputation of a hope that had proven fatal. LA was Ridge and Brooke's domain. She was finally, irrevocably, setting herself free by vanishing from it. Hope faces Ridge's fury and forces Brooke and Nick together? Going from one man to another has been a part of Brooke Logan's life, and it's even more handy if they're related, Forrester. Will Brooke succumb to Nick Marone's temptations now that he's back in town, following her yellowed playbook? Why not? On their first face-to-face date, she gave him a kiss while wearing her undies. Let's see what else Brooke might have planned. Nick and Brooke perched on a tree. Hope Logan, Brooke's kid, is just like her father, but that's a tale for another time. Nick reared Hope as if she were his own when she was younger and Brooke was married. Hope would much rather see her mother with Nick, a naval guy, than with Ridge Forrester, a dressmaker. Even if Brooke is hung up on Ridge, would she still play kingmaker for Brooke? Given how awful Ridge has been to Hope recently, that is definitely a possibility. To put it simply, there is still love between Hope and Ridge despite the fact that he has branded her a slut and worse. Ridge's Brooke pines. Hope and Carter Walton conspired to deprive the legitimate proprietors of Forrester Creations. As they took over Ridge's office, Hope and Carter slapped Ridge in the face and called him a long list of derogatory things. Before Brooke lost it with Ridge for the manner he treated her daughter, Carter and Hope were eventually overthrown. She is once again choosing Ridge over Hope, revealing her true nature. Hope was insulted by Ridge. Wouldn't you want Brooke with someone other than Ridge if you were Hope? We therefore forecast that she will use every effort to stop a Bridge reunion. Hope might use deceit to influence her mother to approach Nick in order to achieve this. Katie Logan even made an unsuccessful attempt to bottom-line Brooke regarding Ridge. Hope attempts to warn Brooke. We believe that in order to bring Brooke back together, Hope might turn to the dark side. Her future at FC may suffer greatly as a result of this. Tell us, B&B lovers, if you would rather stay in a nunnery or watch Brooke with Ridge or Nick. The simmering tension in Los Angeles, already amplified by the leaked Italian rescue photo that viscerally reminded everyone of Ridge Forrester and Brooke Logan's seemingly unbreakable, primal bond, now faces a new incendiary spark, the return of Nick Marone and Hope Logan's potentially explosive intervention. Brooke, perpetually caught in the gravitational pull of the Forrester men, finds herself at yet another crossroads, her history a roadmap of tangled relationships within the same powerful family. Ridge, the eternal flame, remains both her greatest love and most profound source of heartache, his recent heroism in Italy only deepening the emotional quagmire. Yet, here comes Nick, a blast from a tumultuous past, stepping back onto the scene with undeniable swagger and a shared history potent enough to reignite old embers Brooke herself fanned during their charged first reunion, a kiss exchanged in the vulnerable intimacy of her lingerie, a moment that screamed of impulsive attraction and blurred boundaries. It's precisely this volatility, this apparent willingness to fall back into familiar patterns, that sets Hope Logan, Brooke's daughter, into determined, perhaps desperate, motion. Hope, undeniably her mother's daughter in complexity if not always in choices, carries a deep, festering wound inflicted by Ridge Forrester. His past vitriol, calling her a slut, hurling other unforgivable insults, isn't just water under the bridge, it's poisoned the well of their relationship permanently. There is no forgiveness in Hope's heart for the man who verbally eviscerated her, only cold resentment and a fierce protective instinct towards her mother, who, in Hope's eyes, consistently prioritizes Ridge over her own daughter. Witnessing Brooke potentially drift back towards Ridge after Italy, despite his history of walking away and the fresh memory of his cruelty towards her, Hope feels a terrifying sense of déjà vu and a burning need to act. She cannot, will not, stand by and watch Brooke willingly walk back into Ridge's orbit, an orbit Hope believes is inherently destructive for her mother and a personal betrayal given Ridge's treatment of her. Hope's motivations are a complex tapestry woven from loyalty, resentment, and a specific, deeply personal gratitude. While Brooke ricocheted between relationships, Nick Marone provided stability for Hope during her formative years married to his son, Brick. He stepped into a paternal role, offering guidance and support when it was desperately needed, forging a bond with Hope that transcends mere acquaintance. In Hope's calculus, Nick represents safety, kindness, and a history devoid of the searing pain Ridge inflicts. He's the naval officer whose steady presence contrasts sharply with the tempestuous dressmaker. Why wouldn't she want her mother with Nick, the man who treated her like his own, rather than Ridge, the man who tore her down with vicious words? The answer, for Hope, is obvious: Nick is the better man, the safer harbor. This conviction hardens into a mission, especially in the wake of her own failed, aggressive attempt to seize control of Forrester Creations alongside Carter Walton, a power play born partly from fury at Ridge and the family dynasty. That audacious coup, where they reveled in ousting Ridge, hurling insults while literally taking his office, was a direct manifestation of Hope's rage. While ultimately unsuccessful, it underscored the depth of her animosity. Seeing Brooke, even now, still visibly pining for Ridge, seemingly brushing aside his treatment of Hope in favor of that old, destructive spark, feels like the ultimate betrayal to Hope. It confirms her worst fear, that for Brooke, Ridge will always come first, even before her daughter's well-being. This perceived maternal abandonment fuels Hope's resolve. If gentle persuasion won't work, as Katie Logan's well-intentioned warnings to Brooke about Ridge's unreliability demonstrably failed, then Hope believes stronger measures are justified. She's willing to play the long game, to subtly, or perhaps not so subtly, manipulate the pieces on the board to achieve her desired outcome. Brooke reunited, Brooke safe from Ridge's inevitable hurt, and Ridge himself punished by losing Brooke to a man Hope respects. Hope's strategy likely involves a multi-pronged approach, leveraging her access and understanding of both her mother and Nick. Expect carefully timed reminders to Brooke of Ridge's flaws, particularly his insults towards Hope, framed not as whining but as evidence of his fundamental lack of respect for their entire family. She might orchestrate chance encounters between Brooke and Nick, ensuring they're thrown together at events, lunches, or even just lingering moments at the office. To Nick, Hope could become a confidant, gently stoking the flames of his old feelings for Brooke, reminiscing about the good times, highlighting her mother's current vulnerability post-Italy, and subtly positioning Nick as the stable, understanding alternative Brooke needs but is too blinded by Ridge to see. Hope might strategically disappear when Nick is around Brooke, forcing proximity and intimate conversation. She could downplay Brooke's lingering feelings for Ridge to Nick, presenting them as mere habit rather than deep love, while simultaneously exaggerating Ridge's current distance or conflicts with Brooke to her mother, painting him as perpetually unavailable or unsupportive. Every shared laugh between Brooke and Nick, every moment of connection Hope can foster, becomes a weapon in her campaign. However, this path is fraught with peril. Brooke, despite her history, is not a puppet. Her connection to Ridge, recently underscored by his life-saving action, runs terrifyingly deep. Attempts to push her towards Nick could trigger rebellion, making Brooke cling to Ridge even tighter out of sheer defiance or renewed passion. Nick is no fool. He might eventually sense Hope's manipulations, potentially resenting being used as a pawn in her vendetta against Ridge, damaging their cherished bond. And then there's Katie, observing her niece potentially repeating the very pattern of manipulative romantic interference that has plagued their family for decades, creating potential conflict between the Logan sisters. But the most immediate, explosive danger is Ridge Forrester. Ridge possesses a sixth sense when it comes to Brooke and potential rivals. The leaked Italian photo cemented his role as her protector, intensifying his claim, however tumultuous. The mere sight of Nick Marone back in Brooke's proximity would set off alarm bells. If Ridge catches even a whiff of Hope actively encouraging Brooke, fanning those old flames to deliberately undermine his relationship with Brooke, his wrath will be volcanic. This isn't just about romantic jealousy, it's about power, pride, and deep-seated animosity towards Hope herself. He already views her as an ungrateful schemer after the FC takeover attempt, the daughter who dared to try and steal his birthright and spewed venom in his face. Discovering she's now actively working to steal the woman he considers his destiny, using Nick Marone as the instrument, would be the ultimate provocation. Ridge's retaliation wouldn't be petty, it would be strategic and devastating. He would leverage his restored power at Forrester Creations mercilessly. Hope's position at the company, whether in design, management, or simply as a Logan heir with influence, would be directly in his crosshairs. Demotions, humiliation, exclusion from key decisions, public dressing downs, freezing her out, Ridge would use every tool at his disposal to make her professional life unbearable. He wouldn't just fire her outright, he'd want her to suffer, to feel powerless, just as he felt when she took his office. He would expose her manipulations to Brooke, twisting them to paint Hope as a selfish, vindictive daughter trying to control her mother's life, further straining the already fragile mother-daughter bond. He might even target Hope's own relationships, perhaps driving a wedge between her and Liam or Thomas, exploiting any vulnerability. Ridge's wrath is a force of nature, and Hope, by choosing to play with this particular fire, risks getting catastrophically burned, potentially sacrificing her career, her standing within the family, and even her relationship with her mother, all in a high-stakes gamble to sever the Bridge connection once and for all. The question isn't just whether Hope will push Brooke and Nick together, but whether the cost of facing Ridge's inevitable, furious retaliation will be a price she's ultimately willing, or able, to pay. Eric's startling disclosure: is Donna ready for this turn of events? They are waiting for a surprise partner, and Eric Forrester may have an affair with someone else. Could Donna Logan Forrester be oblivious of an unforeseen danger? Quinn was dumped by Eric for Donna, who will follow? Quinn Fuller left that marriage and resumed his romance with Donna after Eric tricked him by secretly becoming connected with her. Now, Donna wants to have a happy ending with Eric, but soap operas don't usually work that way. When Eric wants a little more excitement, is there a chance he'll leave Donna? Fans of B&B are aware that Eric has been in a challenging situation, therefore it's possible that his next love partner is already residing in his house. He is conflicted because he thinks Taylor Hayes would be a bad companion for Ridge Forrester, but he also sincerely cares for her. Ridge and Taylor received congratulations from Eric on their engagement, however. Eric informed Taylor that she has always been a member of the family and congratulated the newly engaged pair. Although Taylor is aware of Eric's genuine views regarding her renewed friendship with Ridge, she seems to appreciate his insightful comments. Ridge will quickly discover his error, even though he has stated that Brooke is no longer in his future. The series features several thrilling events that take place in Italy. Ridge will realize that Brooke is his true love once they start airing, which is expected to happen by the end of the month. When the new chapter Taylor had hoped for with Ridge doesn't come to pass, she will be saddened. It's likely that Taylor will cry on Eric's shoulder. It's easy to see situations in which a humbled Taylor tells Eric that he was right all along. All the same, Eric could promise Taylor that he would never mean to hurt her. In actuality, Eric may admit that he pushed Ridge in Brooke's direction in part because he wanted to step in before Ridge became too attached to Taylor. Ridge made a mistake by raising Taylor's expectations only to lower them, and Eric might feel guilty for not convincing Ridge sooner to save Taylor this suffering. Taylor will regret not following her gut feeling that Ridge was destined for Brooke, but she won't hold Eric responsible. Eric and Taylor's relationship might get stronger and closer. After Ridge meets Eric's expectations and gets back together with Brooke, perhaps Eric and Taylor can strengthen their bond. When Brooke and Ridge start dating again, Taylor will need a new love interest. Eric will eventually require a new plot point as well, so is a surprise romance with Taylor possible? It's crucial to keep in mind that Taylor and Eric have a love history together. Given that it would upend Donna's life and put her marriage in danger, maybe it's time to look into the prospect of Eric and Taylor dating once more.